All right, welcome. Today we're going to dive into this really powerful, centuries-old idea. It's an idea that honestly frames one of the biggest tensions in how we think and how we talk to each other. We're talking about the great divide between wit and judgment, all through the eyes of the philosopher John Locke.
So let's just start with a question for right now, for our time. Which one do you think is better? A super clever tweet that connects two totally wild ideas in a flash? Or a carefully, deeply researched article that slowly and precisely picks apart a really complex issue? See that question right there? That's the exact conflict we're going to explore.
To really get to the bottom of this, we've got to travel back in time. We're going to the 17th century to meet the guy who tried to bring absolute, laser-focused precision to our thoughts and, the words we use. And that man is, of course, John Locke. Now, he was a huge figure in a movement called British Empiricism. That sounds kind of fancy, but all it really means is he believed that everything we know comes directly from our experiences, what we see, what we hear, what we touch. His whole project was about figuring out how we turn all those messy sensations into clear, reliable knowledge. And right at the very heart of his work is this major distinction. He saw two really powerful and totally different faculties inside the human mind. First, you have wit, which is the power that brings ideas together, and then you have judgment, the power that carefully pulls them apart. Okay, so let's tackle the first half of this divide. What in the world did Locke actually mean by wit? For Locke, wit is basically that spark of creativity. It's the amazing ability to just, boom, quickly pull together a bunch of different ideas and find these surprising similarities, these connections between things that you'd think have nothing to do with each other. Like a brilliant metaphor or a really clever pun. That's wit. And what's its purpose? Well, according to Locke, it's all about imagination and, frankly, enjoyment. The job of wit is to create these pleasant pictures and agreeable visions in our minds. It's all about entertainment. It's meant to strike the fancy. Now let's flip to the complete other side of the spectrum. Now we're in the realm of judgment. So, if wit is all about connection, then judgment is all about distinction. It's that cool, analytical power to carefully separate one idea from another, to find even the tiniest little differences so that we don't get tricked or misled by things that only seem similar. And Locke really couldn't have been more clear about this. He literally says judgment lies quite on the other side from wit. Its entire job is to meticulously take things apart, to divide and to parse, making sure every single idea stands on its own, crystal clear. So you see, Locke didn't just see these as like two different tools in a toolbox. Nope. He saw them as fundamentally at odds, these opposing forces in a kind of ancient war between two completely different ways of seeing the world. And this table here, it really maps out the whole battleground. Just look at the pattern. On one side, wit is all about art, poetry, metaphor, entertainment. Things that are delightful but can also lead to confusion. But on the other side, judgment, that's the world of science and philosophy. It's all about clarity, knowledge, and trying to figure out what's real. For Locke, these weren't just different styles. They were two totally different paths. And Locke, wow, he did not mince words. For him, all those tools of wit, things like rhetoric and figurative language, they weren't just pretty little distractions. He actually called them a powerful instrument of error and deceit, something that actively pulls us away from the truth. So here's the really crucial point. Locke wasn't just having some abstract philosophical debate. He was on a mission. He wanted to completely change how we use language itself. He came up with this list of what he called the willful faults of language. And these are basically the big sins against clarity. Number 1, using words when you don't have a clear idea behind them. 2, trying to sound obscure or complicated on purpose. And 3, which he thought was the worst, using all that fancy language to hide the fact that you have no idea what you're talking about. His ultimate goal, really, was to just strip language of all its fuzzy, metaphorical baggage. He wanted to turn it into a purely practical tool, a perfectly precise instrument of knowledge. Nothing more, nothing less. But why? Why was he so obsessed with this? What was driving this intense, almost desperate need for linguistic purity? Well, the answer goes way deeper than just wanting to win an argument. It's because Locke was, deep down, profoundly skeptical about language itself. He argued that the connection between a word, let's say tree, and the actual physical tree in the world, that connection is totally arbitrary, random. And it gets even more complicated with abstract ideas. Concepts like justice or humanity, he believed those are just things we invented. They don't exist out there as solid things. And all of this led him to a pretty radical conclusion. Language can never describe objective reality, only our own perceptions of it. And this right here, this shows you where his urgency was coming from. Locke felt like the entire foundation connecting our words to the real world was completely crumbling. The old idea that words are a perfect mirror of reality was falling apart. So his almost frantic push for clarity, it was really a desperate attempt to build a new, more stable foundation based only on what we can clearly define ourselves. And that leaves us with a huge question for today, doesn't it? In our world, a world just flooded with viral hot takes, deepfakes, and AI-generated everything, what do we need more of? Do we need Locke's precise, skeptical judgment just to survive all the noise? Or do we need that creative, connective wit to find new ways to actually thrive and innovate? The debate, well, it continues.